Thank you.
Next up is Andre Liggett. Andre lives in Dover, Ohio. Andre is a native of Tuscarawas County and resides in Dover with his wife of 15 years, Marcy. Andre has pastored a Church of the Harvest, also in Dover, for the past 16 years. He has been in Christian ministry for over 20 years. Besides pastoring, Andre has owned and operated several businesses over the years. Andre also works and volunteers in his local community at many levels. Andre?
Thank you very much. Again, I want to also thank everybody for being here in the Ohio Liberty Council. This is my wife, Marcy, sitting over here. She's raised her hand, and it's awesome. That's good. That's probably better applause than I'll get, so that's pretty good. If I look like I'm sitting a little closer to Mr. Fred Daly, it's not because I like him more than Coach Dobbelmeyer. It's just he needs a little bit more room to run his bootleg. You'll find out tonight a lot of us stand very similar on the issues. We're all pretty conservative, pro-life, strong national security, pro-gun, and some of us will try to convince you we're more conservative than others. The reality is, you know, what we have to ask ourselves is, are we looking at pedigree or are we looking at the content of character? I'm a principled constitutional conservative. I'm conservative on the issues, as I was saying, but I'm also very strong and feel very strongly about the United States Constitution. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a career politician. Today, Capitol Hill is made up 80% of attorneys. And that's why our legislation is too long, incomprehensible, and full of loopholes. You may agree with that? I'm also not a career politician. I'm not running because I've got an ambition to do this. I haven't been campaigning for 2 or 3 years. I haven't been trying to figure out when's the right time for me to do this. I'm running because my nation's in a crisis. I believe it's not out of ambition, but it's out of a sense of duty that we've got to do what we're doing. A time arises in different generations where people have to stand up and say, I've got to be willing to sacrifice my own ambitions to do what's right for my country. That's why I'm running for the United States Congress. I'm not going to take the congressional health care package and I'm not going to look to see what perks I can get my hands on. I don't care about any of that stuff. I've been in Christian ministry for over 20 years. I've sacrificed my adult life to serve people. And that's what a congressional seat really is, isn't it? It's a place of people offering themselves to sacrifice their own selves to serve other people. That's the kind of people that we need to elect to Capitol Hill. That's why I'm running. The answer to this nation is not the Democratic Party, and the answer is not the Republican Party. The answer that we need right now is the United States Constitution. It saved our country in 1786. It can save our country again. When you applaud for that statement, you're not applauding for something I said. You're applauding for yourselves. We, the people, we have to get back to the founding documents, the authority. Thomas Jefferson said that in the question of power, let no more be heard in the confidence of man, but bind down his mischief with the chains of the Constitution. Einstein said if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that's insanity. If you want something different out of Capitol Hill, then we need to send a different representative. I'm Andre Liggett, and I'm asking for your consideration. Thanks for being here.
Our next candidate is Jeanette Mall. Jeanette lives in Zanesville, Ohio, where she now has a private law practice. She earned a degree in government from Notre Dame University and has worked in the U.S. General Accounting Office. In 1989, Jeanette helped establish the Washington, D.C. office of Ducks Unlimited, Incorporated, where she helped coordinate George H.W. Bush's first major environmental policy speech. In 1996, she graduated from Ohio State with her Juris Doctorate and joined the Guernsey County Court of Common Pleas as a magistrate judge and mediator, where she sat on the bench for 10 years. Jeanette and her husband Gary have 5 children. Jeanette?
I can summarize that for you in one sentence. I'm a pro-life, pro-gun, conservative mother of 5, and that's what I believe we need in Washington. Let me tell you that I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. When I tell you I'm pro-life, I graduated from college with an infant and a 1-year-old. I've done 3 special needs adoptions, and I've been endorsed by Family First. And when I tell you I'm pro-gun, again, I'm not just talking the talk. I founded the Washington office of Ducks Unlimited. I'm a concealed carry permit holder, and I won an award for representing your Second Amendment rights in front of the United States Supreme Court. But I know the issue that concerns all of us around the kitchen table is jobs and the economy. And we have to have leadership that is going to go to Washington and cut government, cut spending, lower taxes. Because the problem in Washington is not lawyers. It's liberal politicians who increase the size of government, increase taxes, and Bob Gibbs proves you don't have to be a lawyer to do that. So when we're looking at issues, we're also looking at the Constitution. And it's not enough to sit here and tell you I believe in the Constitution. We need to be looking at somebody who has a proven background of standing up for the Constitution. I sat on the bench for 10 years. I was never once reversed on appeal because I knew my job was to interpret the laws, not to write them from the bench. I represented the United States Bill of Rights Foundation in front of the United States Congress, and I've been endorsed by Liberty Committee. And if you're not familiar with them, they have the pink slips at moveoutcongress.org, where you can fire your member of Congress for not following the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. So ladies and gentlemen, as you sit here today, you are making an important decision because the party establishment wants you to pick another yes man. They want you to pick their party candidate. And if you fracture between 6 or 7 candidates, you're going to do exactly that. We need the candidate who can beat Zach Space. We need the candidate who's going to go to Washington and represent you. When Zach Space said he was coming home during the August recess to listen to you, I was the candidate who came here to Tuscarora Park and held a town hall meeting with over 400 constituents. I've done over 100 public events to date, put over 30,000 miles on my car so that I could talk to the voters in this district, know where they were at, and know what the issues are. I'm not telling you I'm going to go to D.C. and be somebody different than I am today. I'm telling you, look at my background. I have decades of working on federal legislation. I'm the only one running on the Republican ticket who's worked on federal legislation and is ready to go there day one with no learning curve to represent you and get our nation back on path. So I ask that you join my team, and if you look at the postcards, it says you can let me know what you'd like me to tell Nancy Pelosi when she becomes the former Speaker of the House, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Before we get started with the rules, I'd like to reiterate you should have gotten a straw poll when you came in. We want you to select 1, 2, and 3 of your choices. It has to be 3. And fill the straw poll out. Also, check the other boxes. There's some other questions on there we want you to answer. Rules for this evening. Questions have been submitted on our website, OH18.com. And I also have cards here with people's names on them. When I call your name, somebody's going to bring you a microphone. You'll have 30 seconds to ask your question. I want questions, not statements. You'll get to ask one question with a 3-minute answer from the candidates.
You have to come to the stand. There's no wireless mic. Come up here to the stand.
Okay. You're going to have to come up to the stand. We don't have a wireless mic here, so you have to come up to the microphone up front. You'll ask your question. The candidates will have 3 minutes to answer. If you have a follow-up question, you're allowed to do a follow-up with a 3-minute answer. However, if you ask a question of all the candidates, you have no follow-up. Yes or no questions are permitted. The candidate has to answer with a yes or no answer, and they have their 3 minutes to follow up and qualify their yes or no answer. Also, I'd like to say that putting these things on are not cheap. They cost money, and we would appreciate a donation. We're going to do these for the general election also, so if you can donate a couple bucks, we'd really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to read, first off, I'm going to read the questions from the internet. Call a name. Maurice Mullet. Is Maurice here?